Alright, hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast, Dougie Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Monday Night Football, Week 12 of the 2022 NFL season. So this was slightly an interesting game on Monday Night Football, perhaps entertaining if you wanted to look at it that way, but it was kind of like an ugly brand of football, mainly for the Colts. I mean, the Steelers did okay. They got the win, but I don't think really any team came out of this game looking great. With that, we'll just go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Steelers. Kenny Pickett completed 20 of 28 passes for 174 yards, so no touchdowns, but no interceptions. So you just take what you can get there. Pickett would add 6 carries for 32 yards on the ground. He did make a handful of errant throws in this game, and most of his completions were for minimum games, evidenced by his average mark of 6.2 yards per attempt. He did, however, have a handful of passes that were dropped. Deontay Johnson, in particular, couldn't hang on to a potential touchdown in the end zone, and George Pickens misplayed a few off-target but catchable throws from Pickett. And through 7 starts, he hasn't had any games with multiple passing touchdowns, and only 3 performances over 200 yards. But despite all that, it seems like he's starting to figure it out. You know, he's not lighting up the stat sheet, nor is he compiling a highlight reel, but with each week, he is taking positive steps towards becoming a quality NFL quarterback, and more importantly, the franchise guy for the Steelers. Now, I'm not saying he's there just yet, but he's on the right track. He looked composed and made the plays necessary to keep the scoring drives going. Perhaps most impressive was how he would navigate the pocket, escape when necessary, and consistently find targets downfield for important completions. Now, the reason why he would have to navigate the pocket is because Yannick Ngakoue had a short outburst of sacks that would expose the inconsistencies on Pittsburgh's O-line, but because Pickett has some mobility and athleticism, he has the mobility and athleticism necessary to overcome a lack of reliable production. Again, his numbers aren't flashy, and it won't win him any awards, but if you're watching the game, you might just agree that Pickett went out and won this game with his team, helped his team win this game. They didn't win this game in spite of him. Sometimes you see that happen with teams where they win in spite of the quarterback. This was not the case. And even though George Pickens did have, some passes that, Pickett could have thrown better and, Pickens could have adjusted better to make the catch, that connection between those two, I think it's going to be a special one right there. Pickens is certainly making the case to be the number 1 guy if he's not already. So I think that's going to be a special connection going forward. And, Pittsburgh's future beyond 2022, it's exciting. Even though they got a win here, they're still below 500, and I still don't think they make the playoffs. But you look past this season into the next one. The Steelers' defense this season, they've become opportunistic in recent weeks, and that certainly was true Monday night as they had 2 takeaways. And that defense is the reason that the Steelers aren't worse off at this point in the season. But Monday night also gave a glimpse of what the future on offense might look out. You saw Kenny Pickett playing, George Pickens, probably going to be a stud wide receiver, a star at the position. Deontay Johnson, he's under contract. Granted, I think it's only for like a couple more years. Interesting extension that they gave him, but he's still under contract. And then you also have a backfield consisting of Najee Harris, Anthony McFarland, Benny Snell, and Jalen Ward. We got 4 guys at running back right there. Most likely it's going to be Najee and Jalen, but Snell and McFarland certainly are some good depth pieces. Granted, McFarland's not even under contract. Well, he is under contract, but he's on our practice squad contract. But I think he'd have to be signed to the active roster if he's going to remain with the team, because they've already used up the 3 elevations on him. The main thing the Steelers need to do in the offseason is improve the offensive line and also kind of get some replacements for veterans who might be headed elsewhere or to retirement in the years ahead. Once again, the Steelers are doing things the right way, and I think other teams might want to take some notes, because even though Pittsburgh's undergoing a rebuild this year, it probably won't last long before they start becoming a winning football team again. Colts. Matt Ryan completed 22 of 34 passes for 199 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Ryan would also add 4 carries for 22 yards, 14 of which came on a scramble near the end of the game. He was also sacked 4 times and lost a fumble and bobbling exchange between him and Jonathan Taylor near the goal line. Until the final 3 minutes of the game, about that time, Indianapolis really had nothing going on offense, but Ryan was able to get something going towards the end of the game with some completions, but otherwise it was an uninspiring performance from Ryan with almost no ability to generate long plays. The Colts offense, they're a low ceiling squad going forward. So I think the main thing for the Colts in this game was their offensive issues showing up once again. Ryan looks past his prime when it comes to processing and delivering passes under pressure, and the Colts' current offensive line isn't helping matters. Ryan appears visibly uncomfortable when dropping the pass, which can interrupt the decision-making process, especially in crucial split-second moments in which he should be delivering the pass instead of taking a sack, and ultimately he ends up getting sacked. Now, Pittsburgh would record 3 sacks Monday night and nearly forced a turnover when 1 sack reduced a fumble. And while we're on that topic, a fumble on the goal line, likely Jonathan Taylor's fault, even if it counts in the stat sheet towards Ryan, ended the Colts' second best scoring opportunity of the night. Now, those errors are going to be costly, and for a team like the Colts that's struggling to produce over 4 quarters, they simply can't afford to make these mistakes. And then you add in the interception early in the game, and you have a combination of mistakes that prove to be the difference against the team that the Colts certainly could have beat, but simply could not do so. And also there was some game management issues during the end of the game too, with timeouts and everything else too. And I will admit it was an interesting strategy. When you had 3 timeouts towards the end of the game, I don't know why you wouldn't use them. I don't know what you would. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't use them. Curious decision, but I don't know. I'm interested to see, because this was certainly an interesting game for Jeff Saturday and the Colts. They lost. Their offense got exposed on primetime TV, and also time management issues got exposed as well. But I think this could be a good little test for Jeff Saturday. We'll see how the Colts come out of this game and how they respond. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this discussion on Monday Night Football. And now it is time for my favorite segment of the week, and that is the Throwing in the Towel segment. So this is a segment every week on this channel where I pick one team and I throw in the towel on their season. So just to do a quick recap, week 1 it was the Jets, but that has been rescinded. The Jets came coming off a win against the Bears, sitting at the number 7 spot in the AFC playoff picture. Week 2 it was the Texans. They lost, still only have 1 win. Week 3 it was the Seahawks. That has been rescinded. They did lose to the Raiders, but they're still over 500, and they're I think number 8 in the NFC playoff picture, so they're still in it. Week 4 it was the Panthers. They got a win over the Broncos, but they're still below 500. Week 5 it was the Steelers. They got a win over the Colts, still below 500. Week 6 it was the Bears. They lost. Week 7 it was the Lions. They lost to the Bills. Week 8 it was the Jaguars. You got a win over the Ravens. Nice win, but you're still below 500. Week 9 it was the Raiders. They got a win, but still below 500. So week 10 it was the Saints, shut out by the 49ers. Week 11 it was the Broncos, who honestly find new ways to hit new lows, with their latest being a loss to the Panthers. And now we get into week 12 and this week's team. So ultimately my decision came down to the Colts in the AFC versus the Rams in the NFC, and between those two teams I went ahead and picked for week 12 the Los Angeles Rams. So 2021, that season, that was a dream for Los Angeles. They went out and struck a trade for not only Matthew Stafford, but also for Von Miller on defense. And with those two guys, in addition to the roster that they had, they won a Super Bowl. However, 2022 has been a nightmare for them. They've had relatively the same supporting cast, but they just have not looked anywhere close to the same team that they were last year. Now, they did lose to the Chiefs, but that was hardly surprising. Cooper Kupp is on IR. I think he's probably done for the season. I don't know if they're going to activate him later in the season. season to play. And Matthew Stafford was also out of this game as well with a neck issue. Head coach Sean McVay would tell reporters that the offense was certainly hobbled under backup Bryce Perkins. And, it's not surprising. He's their third string quarterback, so it's not surprising that they were even more limited in this game than they have been in any others. But the question now is whether the Rams should just wave the white flag, just throw in the towel on themselves. I know I'm throwing in the towel on them. They're sitting at 3-8, and they're already on the short list to be the worst defending Super Bowl champion in NFL history. They're also going to be the 7th defending champion to post a losing record. So there's no playoff trip coming. There's no running the table to make the playoffs. And, given the realities that face the Rams, it's fair to ask whether Matthew Stafford should just be shut down for the year. If the Rams are going to try to rebound from the mess that was this season in 2023, they will certainly need a healthy Stafford. So if he's got a neck issue and you're not really going anywhere, might as well just shut it down. Same thing with Cooper Kupp. Even if he can't come back this season, is there even a point? The bigger problem, though, for the Rams might be the inability to add pieces around them. They don't really have any, they don't have any first-round draft picks. This coming up in 2023, they're projected to have less than $6 million in cap next year, and that high draft pick that they would get for this record, well, that belongs to the Lions as part of the trade for Stafford. So it'll be interesting offseason to see what they do to try to build up, to try to reload this roster. What can they do to reload this roster? I saw Aaron Donald also went down with a high ankle sprain. I would expect him to be shut down as well. Just a rough season. It started in week 1 with that loss to the Bills, and they just never really rebounded from there. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. And with that is my team for week 12, throwing in the towel, the Rams. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.